Today I will be critiquing this awesome painting by Apostasy F. Nord. I hope I pronounced that right. My name is Daniel Falta with Evolve Artists, and we show people the path to making realistic paintings. And in this video I will show you the path to making a painting from your imagination that is also realistic. Let's get into it. Thank you everyone who submitted your artwork to this critique. We've had more submissions than ever, and it's super exciting to see everyone's involvement with these. This painting really jumped out at me. It's so creative, the colors are popping, and that girl's expression. She's so mysterious and yet knowing, strong-willed and yet kind of delicate, cold but calm. Like, so much is just going on in that face, and I feel like so many people could take something away from that, out of that, and it's just super awesome. Apostasy painted this without any reference images, no photographs, anything like that, straight from her imagination, which is really impressive. So for this critique, there's nothing that we can compare it to, right? There's no photograph that we can copy from. So instead, we're going to have to rely on our understanding of art making to guide us to making this painting more realistic. And that's the goal of these open art critiques, right? Making these paintings more realistic using the Evolve Artist framework, the fundamentals. And in the process, you're going to see the strength of these fundamentals and why they're so essential for you to know them if you want to be able to create art without limitations, just like this painting from imagination here. So I'm not necessarily going to be making this painting more beautiful, but I'm going to focus on making it more realistic. And yes, there is a difference. So let's start with the first fundamental in the Evolve framework, which is values. I always want to check this one first because it's the most influential out of all of them, and I will stop here if I see issues. So we look at this and we want to say, oh, well, the values are fine, right? Well, actually, despite how awesome this painting is, there are a lot of value issues. So how can I tell? Well, let me start by telling a story. So I remember this one time I was painting a still life that I'd set up on a table, and I was having a really hard time with it. And my art teacher, Kevin Murphy, had noticed, and he comes over and I vented to him a little bit about what I was struggling with. And he looked at me and he looked at the table and he said, "The answers are right in front of you. You just have to ask the right questions." And he probably walked away as, fairy dust is falling all around me. But it's so true, right? You have to ask the right questions. And I would say that those questions are even more important when you don't have a photograph, a reference image to lean on. You're painting from your imagination. You have to rely on these questions and your understanding in order to convey that vision that you have up in here, because you do have a reference, it's just inside here. Well, how do you tap into that reference? How do you get the answers out of that reference? You ask the right questions, and your understanding of the fundamentals are going to help guide you in knowing what questions to ask and then being able to pull the answers from them, from your understanding of the fundamentals. So I'm going to explain how that works. So how can I tell that there are value issues in this painting? Well, it's not just, are my values the right intensity of light or dark, but it's actually, are my values correct in the right places? But how do we know if they're in the right places, especially if you don't have a reference to look at? Well, remember that when you are determining your values, the very first thing that you want to do is break that image into light and shadow. So in this case, break it down up here. Really helpful if you have a thumbnail sketch that you've done in advance. But when you've broken it down first into light and shadow, you now have a structure that's going to guide where all of your values are going to go. In Apostasy's painting, what I'm seeing is a lot of shading without a clear light source. And I see artists make this mistake all the time. They want to drop in a darker value just because something is receding a little bit, but they're not taking into account the overall lighting structure. Let's think about it this way. If I know that the light source is shining from the right side of this image, then all of my cubes can be lit accordingly. You can see the cast shadows on the other side. The light rays are shining down from that direction, and then the light rays are being blocked by the cube from hitting the table. So there's a structure, there's a level of consistency that I can expect out of a realistic piece of art. So this is a fundamental understanding of light and shadow that is now telling me where things should go even if I don't have a photograph to work with. Now, if I didn't consider that overall structure of the light and shadow, this is what my painting might look like. So all I did was move the values around and I gave a different light source to each cube. The illusion of realism isn't holding up anymore because our brain can't figure out where the light is coming from. So if you look at this little guy here compared to this guy here, they're all being lit from different directions. And it may not seem like a big deal, but believe me, when our eyes register sight by light itself, having inconsistent lighting really breaks the illusion. So for a painting from imagination, how do we find the light and shadow? Well, the fun part is that the artist gets to create their own light scenario. So I'm going to take a look at Apostasy's painting and look at the decisions that she made here in order to find where the light source might be. So looking at these tentacles here and the cast shadows from the trees coming sideways here combined with the highlights from above, I'm going to say that the main light source is shining from up above and the left side of the composition. So now that I know where my light source is coming from, I can rely on my knowledge and experience with proportional drawing, another fundamental to map out how the light is going to fall on all of the objects in this painting. Remember, all these fundamentals ultimately work together. Now, you can actually make a very realistic painting without knowing proportional drawing at all. You could take a photograph and then transfer it onto your canvas or paper. But if you want to paint from your imagination, then you need to be really skilled in proportional drawing because you've got to tap into here, go from here onto the canvas. And the best way to level up that skill is to practice drawing from direct observation. So that would be like, drawing a still life on a table rather than working from a photograph. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but just take that advice for now. And Evolve Artist teaches proportional drawing in a really, really accurate way, so much so that you can actually, once you know the process, you can self-critique your own proportional drawing, which is really, really cool. I haven't heard of that happening in other programs. You don't want to have to rely on someone else to tell you if your drawing is proportionally accurate or not, right? You want to be self-reliant as an artist. So it's a really great thing to have. In the same way that I can check my own work for my values, I can also check my own work for my proportions. Really handy. Now, you may have noticed that I actually have been avoiding talking about proportional drawing for these open art critiques, and that has been intentional. So I give these critiques, right, and I make the changes in order to help show what I'm talking about and how it's actually working. And I don't want to make changes that can't be changed by the artists themselves. Most of the time I'm working in layers on top of what's already there, either opaquely or a thin transparent layer, like darkening some shadows, something like that. Potentially someone who is painting this traditionally could actually go in and make these changes if they wanted to. Not that they have to, but they could if they wanted to. And so to point out something about proportional drawing, saying like this thing should be over here or this thing should be lifted up a little bit to get the perspective right or something like that, it's sort of past the point of no return. Unless you're going to overhaul everything all over again. If someone's like, oh, that's really nice, but could you just move the whole face over by 2 inches? It's like, no, I can't and I don't want to. So I've really avoided getting into that. But you can see how proportional drawing does apply not just in objects that you're painting, but also in understanding how the light is falling and interacting with those objects. Yeah, so for anyone who's getting one of these critiques, just know that you could actually make a lot of these changes yourself on top of the painting that you've already done. But you also don't have to. Like, honestly, personally, for this painting, Apostasy, I wouldn't touch it. I would be so proud of this painting. I absolutely love this, and I would take the critique that's being given here and then apply it to the future paintings that you do, but still fully appreciate and love every bit of the painting that it is. It's actually really cool. I was showing one of my friends this painting, and then I was showing them the changes that I had made afterwards, and I asked them, which one do you like better? And he actually said he liked the original painting better. So it just goes to show, just because I'm making the painting more realistic doesn't necessarily make it more beautiful or better for somebody else. So just receive that compliment, because I think that's super awesome. And yeah, I mean, even to see how the light and shadow changes the expression on the girl a little bit. And I have to say, I actually like the expression on the girl in the original painting more than how the light and shadow has affected that expression on her face. Very interesting. So let's sum all this up. Hopefully what you've learned from this video is that the fundamentals can light the path for you in making paintings from your imagination. You can rely on them and they will be your guide in bringing your painting to a realistic finish. And it also goes to show how if you want to be able to make art as freely and as creatively and expressively as this, the fundamentals are going to help you out even more. And I know a lot of people try to avoid technical training and things like that, but these actually, they unleash your creativity. They unleash your ability to express what you want, and they don't inhibit you in any way at all. And remember that light has a specific structure to it based on the light scenario, based on the light sources that are coming in, and how they interact with the surfaces that they come in contact with. And remember to heavily practice proportional drawing from direct observation. Again, super important if you want to paint from your imagination, and it'll improve your ability not just to capture the proportions of objects, but also the correct proportions of the light and shadow falling on those objects. So this is what we do in Evolve. We light the path for artists, the path in creating a painting from start to finish, and also that path in getting the skills necessary to create art without limitations. So thank you, Apostasy, for blessing us with your amazing painting, and I wish you all happy, happy painting.